and pointing out of the record, really important to provide accountability. Accountability, that's really what it's about, because then you can measure what works, what doesn't work. Of course, we understand that our founders understood this because they recognized human nature, and that being the fallen nature of man, and you don't lose it when you get into government. And you could have wonderful intentions, but the road to Hades is paved with them. Now let's get to this. This is Dana Bash of CNN, and she is asking Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid about a specific resolution out of the House that would fund research for kids with cancer. And this would be a way that the House has been passing certain bills to get them out to alleviate some of the stress that has been caused by the slim down of government or the shutdown of government. I got to credit somebody who pointed out the slim down. I don't know where I got that from exactly. But here is Harry Reid responding to why he will not go piecemeal with this resolution with the shutdown. Roll it.
What right do they have to pick and choose what part of government is going to be funded? It's obvious what's going on here. You talk about reckless and irresponsible. Wow. What this is all about is Obamacare. They are obsessed. I don't know what other word I can use. They are obsessed with this Obamacare thing. It's working now, and it'll continue to work, and people will love it even more than they do now by far. So they have no right to pick and choose.
But if you can help one child who has cancer, why wouldn't you do it?
Listen.
Because that Head Start mom will never do it.
Why pick one against the other?
Why would we want to do that?
Yeah.
I have 1,100 people at Nellis Air Force Base that are sitting home. They have a few problems of their own. This is to have someone of your intelligence suggest such a thing. Maybe means you're irresponsible.
It's irresponsible, Dana Bash, for questioning the fact that we don't want to fund this type of research. And, why put one against the other? That's your entire legislative history, and that's what you do. I mean, you talk about selectively putting forth things. What right do they have? What right does President Obama have of suspending the employer mandate? Where did that come from? Oh, they did that with Social Security, and they did that with Medicare, Crane, don't you understand? No, they did not. They got congressional approval before they did that. They could not do that. What right is it for the president to give, the DREAM Act, his own DREAM Act, when it couldn't pass a year before? And he said that in Article 1, the powers are stressed. That is Congress's job. I'm Article 2, the executive. What right? And putting up people against each other. Your argument for government spending on anything comes down to the fact that you bring out a particular sector of people and say we need to grow the government more to make sure that these people are taken care of. Yet when we point to the fact, oftentimes conservatives point to the fact that, hey, it's tremendously inefficient and you're referencing these people, but what about all the other people that are included in this? Because you've lowered the standard or the threshold where people qualify, and it provides a disincentive for them to work and better themselves because they can do better. They're competing with a government benefit to stay on. And if we're really talking about compassion, how on earth don't you allow for the people of conscience, business owners? Where's your compassion for them and the HHS mandate, as well as organizations, non-for-profit or otherwise? I have to ask Ben Johnson, who wrote a great piece about this 2 days ago. Ben Johnson is the U.S. Bureau Chief of LifeSite News. He is also the guest host of Crane Durham's Nothing But Truth, and he joins us now. How are you, my friend?
Good to be on with you again. Thanks so much.
Always, and good to hear your voice. Ben, let's address something here. This Planned Parenthood is just getting completely whacked out about what has taken place with the resolution that you wrote about, Marsha Blackburn's resolution, and wonderful legislative history, by the way, there too, sir. Thank you. The fact is we look at what has been passed and we have a response from the usual suspects. Jay Carney even took this in his response to a question from Ed Henry regarding the showdown or the shutdown or the slim down and why we weren't negotiating, why they were not negotiating. Here is a second part of his answer where he first says, hey, look, we've opened up a budget process with the Republicans. They got us here. But then he took specific aim at the resolution that was about conscience, the First Amendment, and the HHS mandate. Roll it.
But in the end, they want to do that for a continuing resolution that will fund the government for 45 days, 60 days. What comes next? What will they demand next? I mean, part of it was they want everybody's boss to be able to tell every woman in America that whether or not they can get contraceptive coverage. They want to attach that to this debate. You know, this is not, as others have said, this is not the way Congress ought to operate, and it's irresponsible and reckless to hold the functioning of the government hostage to these ideological imperatives.
And if you were in the White House press pool, and we pray for that day, by the way, what would you ask as a follow-up to Mr. Carney?
Well, you know, I do look forward to that day, but I won't be holding my breath until it happens. By the way, I don't know if you saw this past week, the Washington Blade was added to the White House press corps. The Washington Blade, of course, an organ for the homosexual movement. So they have another friendly voice in the White House press corps that's already awfully friendly.
But not LifeSite News. Not one dedicated to life.
Or One News Now, or anyone else who's on the other side. And they tried their best 2 years ago to kick out Fox News, as you remember, or 4 years ago. I mean, they had this campaign that they weren't really a news agency, you know, the way that, say, MSNBC was. They had a viewpoint. But, yeah, I mean, when you're confronted with unreality of that sort, you just kind of have to step back and say, what in the First Amendment allows you to compel someone to violate his religious liberty to furnish funds for abortion, abortion-inducing drugs, sterilization, contraceptives, things that will violate the Christian faith, not only of Catholics in the case of contraception and sterilization, but in the case of people of all Christian backgrounds, and many Jewish and Muslim people as well, and other faiths perhaps, when it comes to abortion-inducing drugs like Ella, which is the week after pill, as well as the morning after pill. That would be, I guess, question number one. Under what circumstances do you have the right to violate the First Amendment on this? And you did a wonderful job pointing out the spin that Harry Reid is putting into this, that it's the Republicans who refuse to bend and are doing their best to he said, why should they choose which laws are funded or not? Well, the Constitution says all spending bills begin in the House of Representatives. That's how the founders designed it. Maybe
they were extremists.
He was up for re-election in 2010, but maybe he slept through the process. In 2010, there was this little midterm election. It was the biggest blowout in midterm election history since the 1930s, anyway. And the main issue before voters was Obamacare, and they said, we don't want it. We want you to do everything you can to defund it, to shut it down, to postpone it, to put it off. And now he's surprised and shocked that people are doing exactly what they did. It reminds me of something William F. Buckley said once. He said, liberals always say that they want to hear other people's viewpoints, and then they're shocked and surprised to learn that there are other viewpoints.
And it's funny because in an interview with Saul Alinsky, William F. Buckley on Firing Line, which is just an amazing show, and I hope we can somehow get that in the way of the programming of how things are today in our media world, because it was extraordinary. But they always ask, do you really believe what you believe? And give you that look like, how could you? And that's Saul Alinsky asking William F. Buckley that. I had to go down that road. I know it's a rabbit trail, but I had to mention that because it really does bring up and highlight the point you make. Open discussion, sure, but you can't believe that. And if you do, well, we're going to call you all sorts of names because we can't deal with the substance of it. And we saw this from Planned Parenthood president discussing the funding measure that was put in there, the resolution that was put on in there that you've talked about by Marsha Blackburn as well. And she admits something here. The president of Planned Parenthood, in her Ed Schultz interview last night, hat tip to town hall tip sheet, by the way, and I think I saw it on a couple other sites as well. But bottom line, here is an exchange, and, well, roll it.
That they continue to attack women's rights.
Well, I think the concern is that there is an extreme faction in the House of Representatives that just can't let this go. And it was extraordinary to see, in the midst of everything else, Saturday night, they took yet another vote to strip out women's benefits in the Affordable Care Act. And the incredible thing is, millions of women are already benefiting. We hear at Planned Parenthood from so many women every day who are now getting their birth control covered for no copay, for the first time have insurance, have preventive care. So this is actually one of the most popular parts of the Affordable Care Act. It doesn't make any sense, political sense or healthcare sense to me.
The attack on women is, it's on a scale of 1 to 10, it's a 9.9.
Absolutely.
Now, absolutely, from Cecile Richards, the president of Planned Parenthood, yes, daughter of, I guess, Ann Richards, former governor of Texas. Question for you, U.S. Bureau Chief, LifeSite News, Ben Johnson. When you hear that, the benefits, it's hurting the benefits to, I guess it's hurting benefits to Planned Parenthood and abortion mills, it seems. Ben? Hello?
From it, and it's certainly benefiting Cecile Richards by millions. Am I on?
Yes, you are. Pardon.
Okay,
Go
good.
ahead. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, she said millions of women are benefiting from it. Planned Parenthood and women like Cecile Richards are benefiting by the millions because they are the ones who stand to benefit the most from this kind of a law. This provision was written in specifically as a kickback, a favor to a Democratic constituency like Planned Parenthood that spent millions of dollars reelecting Obama. In fact, Richards went door to door in Northern Virginia in the last days of 2012, symbolically knocking on doors for Obama. So there's no question what coalition she is in. She's part of the coalition, and they keep that money flowing, this sort of back and forth between liberal groups and taxpayer dollars funding them, and then Democratic politicians who are elected to keep that cycle going and keep that spigot open. Cecile Richards, Planned Parenthood, stands to benefit in so many ways from Obamacare. When people finally are able to get through this glitch-ridden, buggy system and sign up for these health exchanges, they will have, in some states, a state plan where the state does not allow for funding of abortion in insurance plans. However, in at least 34, 36 states, the state said, we don't want anything to do with this, so the federal government has its own plan, and it's running the exchange. In every state in the country, you'll have a state plan and then a multi-state plan. And the multi-state plan will not be bound by state law, so we'll be able to cover elective abortion. You'll have a $1 surcharge if you want that for an abortion, so that they can say that it's not all funded by taxpayer dollars. But
$1?
You'll be able to get abortion on demand, $1. And we know, abortions cost several hundred up to more than $1,000, depending on the time. Late-term abortions more than $1,000. So no matter how many women sign up, it's not going to all be paid for by the $1 surcharge. It's going to be subsidized by those of us who are enrolled in those programs. Those Americans who sign up for it, who don't sign up with my friend Troy Newman and decide they're going to defy the law altogether. But so they stand to benefit from abortion, which is one of their main revenue streams. Half of their funding already, half $1 billion every year, $500 million, comes from taxpayer dollars. But then you have the kickbacks through birth control shoes, saying they hand out birth control to people who don't even want it when they come in. Former employees of Planned Parenthood tell us everyone who comes in gets a baggie full of contraception. It costs them about $2 to hand it out. They charge $20 to the government for handing it out, and they pocket the difference. And we are the ones who have to do that. And then, of course, in several states, 3 states in particular, Iowa, Montana, and New Hampshire, the navigators who sign you up when you call in and say, I can't understand this and I can't get on the website, can you help guide me to the state health exchange that would benefit me the most based on my experience? The person you talk to could be sitting in your local abortion mill. It could be Planned Parenthood. They got almost $700,000 in taxpayer dollars to be navigators, and they'll have access to all of your insurance information, your Social Security number, bank account, health records, everything. So they are benefiting by no means. And Marsha Blackburn's resolution, I'm glad she put it in. It didn't even cancel the HHS mandate. It just put it off a year. And this is what she's going crazy about on Ed Schultz, who has a history of going crazy himself.
Yeah, well put together and definitely detailed. I think people, if you were looking for some explanation on what's going on with Obamacare and life, look no further than Ben Johnson, U.S. Bureau Chief of LifeSite News. Final question for you, Ben. 10 seconds. Tell me, you're saying Obamacare does fund abortion? Bart Stupak, maybe news to him, right?
Simple answer, 2 words. Obama lied.
Ben Johnson, U.S. Bureau Chief, LifeSite News. Always appreciate you, and guest host of Crane Durham's Nothing But Truth. Thank you for taking the time tonight, Ben. Great to talk with you.
Thank you. God bless.
Take care. Crane Durham's Nothing But Truth. Now, on the flip side, we are going to look at what led up to this, as well as what taxes are on the table. Pete Sepp is next. National Taxpayers Union, AFR Talk.